Okay, a few trades that I called today in the chat room that I think are worthy of talking about here, just as an explanation of the setup and why I called them and that sort of thing. YRCW is one of them. This thing had huge volume, relatively speaking, that is, for this stock, and a nice little gap up a couple days ago. Then it put in a lower high. So you have a couple red sessions since the gap up. So that lands it on bounce watch for me. In other words, if it gives me a narrow range today and then breaks its early high, we might get a nice trade. So let me switch to intraday. All right, these are 5-minute candles. This is the opening 5-minute high at the top of this red candle right there. You can see it revisited again, 950, 950, and was holding up pretty well, right? Putting in higher lows. And so my call was simply 951. It met the parameters I just talked about. I said if it gets over 950, so if it gets up to here with a 937 stop, that was my trade idea. There's the trigger, and it went to 1021. So it went up 70 cents on whatever, 13 or 14 cents risk. And easy money for those in the chat that took it. I actually did not take that myself. I jumped on the mic when it was setting up, and it looked like this. And I said, I gave the trade idea. And I also said, hey, oil numbers are coming out right about the time that this was, at the trigger point. And with this being YRCW, I just didn't want to battle oil numbers, the uncertainty of that. So actually, my own rules kept me out of that, but it was a nice trade for some. Let's see. PRAN gave us a really big trade a couple sessions ago. This was the opening 5-minute candle here. It just kept grinding higher on a weak tape too for the SPY. So I finally broke down and called this long at 635 with a dime stop. And it triggered right there. You can see the volume coming in, and it went pretty quickly to almost 680 to 678. It doesn't sound like much, but percentage-wise, and you can see plenty of volume there to sell into. So that one worked pretty well for a lower price stock. And then one other stock, BBT. 5-minute candles here. It was just getting ahead of itself and had resistance around 35. So when it gets up to 34.90, I started looking for a short. Then it put in this narrow red 5-minute candle. I just called it short below that candle with a stop above that, or actually a stop at the high of the day. So 34.86, and the stop is 34.92. So only 6 cents risk. You can get a little more size when you have a situation like that. And it was selling off for the rest of the day. So we literally caught the top there on a short. And it went down to 34.63. Again, not a huge move, but easy money in our pocket. And that's really all the highlights I have from today. The SPY grinding lower all day. Lunchtime went sideways for a while and then continued down. Here's the daily on the SPY. We are at some support here. 178 has some support. Currently below the 20-day, but the last time it touched the 20-day here, came close here, touched here. You had a red day, and then it was up again. So who knows? I'm not, decent volume today, relatively speaking. Anyway, I'm not. I've been thinking the market's a short for weeks, so I'm not going to try to assess it here. I just play stuff on an intraday basis and don't really worry that much about what the overall market's going to do. I take it on intraday, day-to-day basis. So we'll see what we can find tomorrow, and we'll talk to you then.